Welcome back to the Retail Initiative podcast. I am giddy excited about today's episode. You guys are in for a treat. I have with me my friend and one of my favorite people in the retail world, Sara Burks from the Boutique Hub. How are you doing, Sara?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here. I love chatting with you, Josh.
It's always so good. If you are not familiar with Sara, she's the Director of Education and Partnerships, I just learned, at the Boutique Hub. And the stuff that she does with her team is just brilliant, and the resources that they put out there. So if you're not familiar with the Boutique Hub, really quick, click pause right now on this episode and go check out what they have going on. Really, it's so much cool stuff. So Sara, real quick, why don't you tell us about the Hub?
Okay.
People that aren't super familiar with what the Boutique Hub is.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, I will put it in just very common terms here. So when I had my boutique for many years, I remember what it was like to be in my four walls of my business and always have the question, what is the person on the other side of that wall doing? What's working in the industry? What's not? Oh my gosh, I just made this huge mistake. How do I fix it? But as that independent retailer, often you don't have the resources or the tools to go get those answers, right? Mm-hmm. We may have learned about it in college many years ago, but that information is, I was in college in the 90s. So it is definitely outdated. So the Boutique Hub is that. It is that central connecting point for independent retailers to meet with each other, collaborate with wholesale brands, service providers like Josh here that can help them get the answers that they need, and also have many buying discounts and service provider discounts and things like that a big box store would have, but that independent retailer doesn't. So we like to say we're the eyes and the ears in the industry for our members to bring them those resources, tools, community, collaboration that they need to be successful.
I love it. And Boutique Hub's been such an amazing part of my business, and I have so many friends from it. And gosh, I could go on and on about how much I love it. But what I want to talk about, because you're in a unique spot, which is I talk to tons of retailers constantly, and a lot of my friends aren't in that space. And so it's either I'm talking directly with a retailer on this podcast, but where you are unique. And what I'd love to chat through is just what's going on in retail right now and how people are feeling, what's working, what's not, and jam on that. So what would you say, because we're coming out of we had COVID, then we had the fake economy of 2021, and then we had some stuff go on, I think, for a little bit, and then we had an election year. So when you look back, what do you think has really shifted over the last, let's say 12 months, 2 years in the retail world? What have you seen that's really shifted?
Oh man, this is a great question. And, having been a boutique owner for many years, I started back in retail in the 90s. I like to sit back and think, okay, yes, through the scope of the retailer, but ultimately the big person we need to talk about is the consumer. So, because what that consumer does, reflects on what we are giving them as a retail society, but also where they're voting with their dollars depends on where we're going to show up. And I think you're right. I feel like we have been, to say a ping pong ball or a yo-yo or just whatever, that's the way I think human beings have felt over the last, 4 or 5 years. And retail owners are trying to keep up, and they're trying to, meet that consumer where they're at and where their needs are. And it just so happens you feel like, all right, I'm making traction here. And then something weird happens, one of those 6 things you just mentioned. And all of a sudden the consumer is focused on this way. And so I feel like retailers are the most resilient businesses out there. I just want to give people praise and give them a little grace on that. For, there's that saying where you feel like you're running through the jungle and being chased by the tiger, and you're just too afraid to pause and stop and see if the tiger's still chasing you. And I think we're kind of, hopefully coming out of that now, after the last couple of weeks and last couple of months here. Hopefully we're going to see that shift going into the future. But at the same time, as much as I'd like to say that, it is retail. It is ever changing. And all it takes is one celebrity to come out with something new, or, some pop song to hit the market, and everybody shifts gears and there's a whole new craze. So it's fast. I think it's faster now than it ever has been.
Yeah. And so what do you think, like, for the retailer who, some hear that and are like, yeah, it is. That's what I signed up for, and I knew it. But others are like, what do you say to that person who's just like, at some point, like, do we just get to chill out and like sell some stuff?
Yeah. Oh, great point. And I think the stores that I see doing a really good job, they're pivoting quickly, like in maybe their verbiage or, the trends and those kind of things. But where they are hanging their hat, what they are standing true to, the foundation of their business, right? Rock solid, is customer service. I feel like people over the last few years have started to feel like they don't know where they belong. They just don't know who gets them. And that kind of be everything to everybody movement that we were in a few years ago is exhausting. And, Ashley and I like to say at the Boutique Hub, when you target everyone, you really reach no one, right? You look at it in business, you look at it in sports, you look at it in music, and at some place you drill down. And to say I like music, that's fine. But, music is a big genre. I mean, there's a lot of different genres out there. So and even country music, to go say I like country music. Oh my gosh, there's so many different styles and varieties of country music out there. Mm-hmm. And people will argue, that's not country. Oh, that's pop country, or that's this country. Well, to say I sell clothes, or I am an independent retailer, we've got to get more narrowed in our focus of who we're really attracting. Mm-hmm. And give them the most undeserved, unexpected, and unnecessary customer service that they've ever had. And that's the stores that are really doing well. Yes, they might be like kind of all over in some different things, but when it boils down to it, their customer service is non-negotiable. Mm-hmm.
So what do you think it is? Because, I could sing that from the rooftops, like... it really is, like, if I were to say like top 3 needle moving beliefs that a retailer could have, moving on from like personal about mm-hmm. themselves beliefs, but more like the concepts that they really need to understand, like that perfect customer idea is easily the number one thing that if you're going to do anything, like understanding your customer deeply. But I talk to so many, so like, for me, most of my audience and who we work with is brick and mortar retailers, right? And there are all kinds of people that walk in. How do you coach someone through, like, okay, Sara, I hear you. I hear that not everyone's my customer, but you don't see who's walking in my doors, and I really don't want to lose out on sales because I don't have something for them. Like, how do you get someone past that to see where the upside might be?
Oh, I put such a huge value on my time. And when I work with independent retailers, I really try to get them to understand how much time is going into making certain decisions or making certain sales. So if you are trying to make someone happy, that the odds are stacked against you, you do not have that repeat offering, and you're still just bending over backwards to try to make that happen. When you're trying to say yes to this person, what are you saying no to on the other side? In order to say yes to one thing, you've said no to something else. Uh-huh. Like if I'm going to turn my focus over here, I've turned my back on somebody else back here. And so the odds are this person is really hard to please, right? They're wanting something we don't have. A better way to build loyalty for them is give them that option of where should they go? Mm-hmm. Is there a store down the street? Is there somebody else you collaborate with that you could send them there? And, therefore you've listened to them, you've heard them, and you're giving them that solution. And then when they do remember, or when they do need what you have, hopefully they'll remember that not that you were the person just trying to sell them something, but the person that truly served them.
Absolutely. And it's that, to me, it's that idea of we try to cater to everyone. And so we're going to shift this little area of the store and we're going to put something, let's say for an older audience, when our customer leans way younger, okay, great. That older person's going to be able to come in and find something. She's going to buy that one thing. But you had this group of people that are crazy about what you're doing and they love everything. And we just took a whole section of our store and filled it with things that they would never buy.
Right.
One of them is going to come in and buy a ton of stuff all the time. Like they're going to be repeat purchasers. And then this other person, they're never going to be all in on the brand. And then you try to bring it online. It's 10 times harder, right?
Yeah. It gets confusing for the member or the customer. And I'll tell you, I did this. I did it. When we expanded into multiple stores, one store that was in a neighboring town, we thought, okay, this is a college town. We're going to go away from our more mature audience, right? Our more Missy customer. And we're going to really showcase some of that younger clientele. We had a smaller storefront square footage, but yet we thought we'll make it half and half. And everybody that came in looking for the Missy things, all they saw was the junior sizing. Everybody that came in thinking, oh, wow, their store window looks awesome. This is so totally where me and my college friends would like to shop. They came in and saw blazers and dress pants and Spanx. And they were like, what? This is not where I want to be. Mm-hmm. So as a matter of fact, we had to pivot really fast because we basically we didn't mean to, but we were basically saying no to both people because what they immediately saw was something they didn't want.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's so good. So over the last, I don't know, it's picked up more in the last year. One of the phrases that I hear a lot is like, okay, I know we're all struggling. I know everybody is having a hard time. It's like any statement. It could literally be like, I know the economy's terrible, but I'm looking for a point of sale system. Like it just seems to go in front of every sentence now. But to the people that think that, one, do you think that's true? Mm-hmm. And two, like, what do you say to the person who really does believe like it is so hard right now?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes, life is hard. Like it's nothing worth doing is ever simple, right? And there's going to be challenges put in front of us, which ultimately keeps us active. It keeps us on our game. Complacency, nothing good happens with that, right? Mm-hmm. But I find the store owners that are jumping into the community and saying those kind of things like, oh, woe is me, life is bad, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then I'll say, what have you done? XYZ. What are you putting out in front of your members to make it better? Had you had all staff meetings to just say, all right, what are you guys seeing working? What is not? Are you surveying not only your employees, but your members? Are you getting down and just sitting down at the chair with some of them and saying, what is it that I'm not offering right now? Right. Yeah. And when we're looking at stores that are being successful because, oh my gosh, I just had this great conversation inside our community with a number of our store owners, having the very best October, shaping out to be the best November, coming off the best summer even, and I'm like, what did you do? Because we see all these other stores that are like, oh, wah, wah, and they're like, we just refuse to believe it. We narrowed in our focus. We cut out the crap that wasn't working, that we were spending all of our energy trying to make positive, make productive. And we realized we needed to get back to the basics of who we are, why we got into this business, and make sure that if we're going to sell the black dress, we aren't lazy and just say black dress. We are going to talk about that black dress online as if you came into my store and I was holding the black dress in front of you and I was showing you everything about it and hyped it up and it helped you understand where you were going to wear this black dress and when you walked in, how you were going to feel, right? And then we're going to accessorize it and we're going to do all the things. If it's home decor and gift, we're going to talk about that place setting on your table, like your whole family's sitting there at Thanksgiving, enjoying the entire feast together, right? Whatever that might be, they realize that a lot of these stores are trying to do too much and they're doing it very half. To not swear, but say, less than 50% effort. They're just trying to get stuff out there. And the thing about it is when stores realize that this is such a competitive field out there, every swipe of the thumb is something new. There's no scarcity in products, right? There's no scarcity in entertainment online anyway. Like your attention span is so short. So if you just put something like a stock photo out there, that's not going to work. Not going to work. Just that's immediately not going to work. Your customers immediately see it. They don't resonate with it. They don't think it's speaking to them. They've moved on. So if you have kind of that checklist of things that people are consistently not liking and realizing it, assessing that and saying, hey, everybody, team, we're never friggin' do that again. We're not using those. We're not using that type of wording. We're not using those types of photos. We're not forgetting to do a fit video. We're not forgetting to show the back of products. We're not forgetting to make sure they know what size somebody's wearing in the picture. When you go back and like really identify some of those non-negotiables, again, this goes back to customer service. Those are the stores that are doing well. But when I talk to store owners that are like, oh, it's just so diluted, everybody's selling the same thing, blah, blah, blah. I'll say, okay, so where are you sourcing your inventory? And they'll say something like, well, I go to Fashion Go and I go to the hottest styles. I'm like, so does everybody else,
Yeah.
So does everybody else. So why do you think then I go to your value proposition? What is your value proposition? And some of these stores that are not having success are like, well, I'm an online affordable trendy boutique. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yes.
And so I think to answer that question, a lot of times I come back and I kind of answer it with a question, like asking them, why would I want to shop with you? What is it you've done? What is it, if you're a brick and mortar store, what is it you've done in your community? What is it you've done for your staff? What is it have you partnered with a philanthropic effort right now, right? Like as we're going into the end of the year and I'm looking at opening my wallet and supporting a small business, like there's a part of me as a busy mom that's like, hey, yeah, I do want to go support those people that support us. Mm-hmm. And if you've just sat back and thought people are going to come find you out of, I don't know, obligation or because they don't have any other options, those days are gone.
Yeah. Gosh, I love it. Yeah. With the whole idea around like everybody is struggling, when I see that, there's a part of me that's like, do you really believe that? Because if that's true, why try?
Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't matter what we do, why try? Why try anything? But we know that there are people that are successful. But I think the thing that if we're not careful, what we can end up doing is we almost like discredit what they're doing. And we'd be like, that could never happen for me because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah. But one of my mentors, taught me, he was like, look, what you blame is what you give give control. If you blame the economy, then you've given all the control of your business to the economy. Mm-hmm. Or even like in marriage, if you blame your spouse, well, then your marriage can't get better until they change. Right. I don't know about you, but like I've tried to change my wife before and it didn't work. And I don't know how to change the economy. Like,
I don't think that happens. Yeah.
It doesn't happen. But when I can take control of what kind of husband am I, mm-hmm. then I can start to see my marriage improve. When I can take control of, okay, what is my business doing? All those things you just talked about, it's like, okay, well, no matter what the economy is, like we still have a chance if we're doing these things. We have to accept responsibility versus just blaming that other thing. And so like right now, like what would you say as we look at 2025? Mm-hmm. And I know that there are retailers that hear this and they're like, okay, yes, like I want to take responsibility. I want to grow. I want to get to the next level. Like, where would you say, like, this is the place to start? If you're really wanting to level up, whether it's in store, online, this is where you should get started.
Oh gosh. I go back to the basics. I say right now, it is a perfect opportunity for you to sit back and really solidify who is my customer in X, whatever day it is you decide to do this. Whenever you're listening to this and today's the day, you're like, who is my customer today? Right? Mm-hmm. And then you go out and you look at your product offering, you look at that inventory And if you look at that and cannot name the customer that's going to buy that stuff, and you look at some of that stuff and like, why do I have that? Who was going to buy it? Right? Mm-hmm. And you look at your floor, your show floor, and you're like, oh my gosh, we went off the rails here at said market or on Hubventory or wherever it was, but I'm not really sure why we have these things here. And then think back and realize every customer that's come into the door that you're putting out the marketing materials for and that communication, if you're communicating to that right person and they come through the door and then they see this weird product offering, and those are the things that are sitting there, they're not moving, they're tying up your cash. But not only is that, it's reducing an opportunity for you for investment on inventory, it's also reducing their trust for you once you get them in the store. So if you were, what my advice is to anybody is to really go back and identify who is that customer? He or she, where do they live? What do they like? Where do they like to spend their time on? What are those brands and products that they absolutely love, right? And go back and really make sure you get that, your team gets that. I'm big on team training. I'm a huge believer in quality teams and training your team. And then go out onto the sales floor and look and see where you've missed the mark and get it out of there. Make it go away. Learn from it and make it go away. And with that, that's almost like the cleaning of the closet in the spring. It's that refresh, right? And so therefore, you're going to make note of where did I go wrong and where will I never go wrong again, right? And you almost have this rubric of when I put out content, when I go to market, when I invest in products, whatever it's going to be, it has got to solidify and communicate to name your customer, whatever her avatar is that you spent time, making sure is your person. Every decision you make better go back to that person. And if you find it does not, you're muddying the waters is really what I'd like to say. So I think that's really important going into 2025. People want to feel valued. They want a place where they feel seen. Ethical and sustainability is huge, and with some customers not. So, is that something that's important to you and your brand? And if so, how am I going to incorporate that into everything I do? Right?
Gosh, I love that. I remember a conversation I had with a retailer that I work with, and there was like this big movement going on social that was related to like a political event going on at the time. And she was like, Josh, do you think I should post about it? And I'll be honest, at that time, I really agreed with the ideas in that social stuff. And I knew that she didn't, but I honestly didn't care what my belief was, what her belief was. I was like, hey, what do you think your customer believes on this? Mm-hmm. Is this something that's a big deal? If it is, then yeah, post it. If not, then it's a distraction. Stay away from that stuff. And so I love even the sustainability pieces. We could go all in on that, which I personally may love that. I think all of us would agree. We don't want the world to burn. But does your customer really value those pieces is so huge. And I think there's a reason why, it doesn't matter what course you go through, what program. I cannot name one that does not start with identifying your customer.
Yeah.
There's not one that I could name, and I think that's for a reason.
It is. And the thing is, that customer, you need to be pretty upfront and blunt immediately that, hey, I'm speaking to you, right? I call it kind of like the TikTok craze. How many times you swipe on TikTok and the video starts out by, do you struggle with neck flab? Do you struggle with blah, blah, blah? And it's just wait, yes, I don't like my neck. Oh my gosh, I'm totally watching the next 8 seconds of this video. And next thing you know, I'm hooked, right? And I'm just sitting there watching it. And guess what they're going to show me the next time and the next time, right? But if the video started with this girl just kind of, doodly-doo, talking about something else, building some sort of random relationship with the customer, I don't know that I would hover over it long enough. But when she hits me at a pain point, that's something I'm really struggling with, or do you not know how to pack for a vacation? Or do you not know how to pack for a business trip? Those kind of things. It's they're thinking in your mind, what are those things that consumer is literally debating in their mind? What is like the little people in their brain, like nagging at them about? Those are the hooks. So I encourage you in all of your marketing to figure out who that customer is, what they struggle with, what are their pain points, and how can I put product in front of them that helps them with that. And if I've got a product that doesn't make them feel better about themselves, look better, feel more proud and attractive and all of those kind of things, or solve that, like a solution problem, then maybe in my investing of inventory, I swipe by it. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll come back to that. But I can't right off the top of my head think how that's going to make Sarah's life better or my consumer's life better or make them, improve something. So therefore, is that really where I need to focus right now? Yeah. I think a lot of times, especially coming out of COVID, people just invested and brought in inventory just to have it, right? Because there was this whole idea, oh, we're never going to have enough. So I'm just going to all of a sudden start selling anything and everything. That's changed. Yeah. That has changed.
That ship sailed.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite things, I love, like when we're talking digging into your perfect customer, I talk through a lot, like, and you mentioned most of this, like demographics and those, what are their values, like kind of what gets them up in the morning. But one of my favorite things to get into is what I call contradicting values, because that fuels great content. Because you talked about you struggle with neck flab or whatever. Well,
I don't even know why I said that.
It was good. But is the idea of like your customer cannot be perfect. Like they are not, we all have contradicting values. Make a list, and it's not judging them. What it actually is, it gives your brand a chance to say, hey, us too. We really value health. We eat all organic. We do this and this. We stay away from blah, blah, blah. And we love tequila. We love Jesus. We go to church. We are good parents. And I love the F word. Mm-hmm. Those are things that all of us have, these values that we hold to. Yet there are things in our life that contradict it, when our content that hooks in right there.
Absolutely.
I saw one reel that was it was a woman. Honestly, she was dressed so cute. It was not about the product, but I guarantee you, like, the product stood out, and it was her family all screaming at each other, getting in the car, and then walking into church, smile on their face, like all of that. And it was great content that her customer resonates with.
Relates with, yes.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
That brings me to the next thing. Like when I think of 2025, I think user-generated content is going to be bigger than ever. I like to spend a lot of time interviewing shoppers. So a lot of times I'll get people that'll message me, Sarah, is this boutique real? Is this a legit store? Found it online? Is it real? And usually I'll look at it for them, help validate it. But then I also come back and say, what attracted you to this store? Like, just out of curiosity. Like, what was it about this store that made you stop? And I'll talk to them about like I'll send them other stores. Like, oh my gosh, I never would have found this, or I never would have, I saw the website, but then when I got inside, I really like what I saw. So I love to talk to customers and get their feedback about what is it that makes them excited to shop with somebody. And so often right now, the biggest thing is reviews, user-generated content. They like to see the real life people using the product. I think they're getting a little sick and tired of being sold to all the time. And, I remember in our store, that's again, going back to serve your customer. It's not about just selling somebody something, because consumers are savvy. They'll catch on pretty quick if they think Sarah's literally just trying to sell this person something, and it's not really what is in their best interest, right? So that's why they like to see some people using it in their real life as well. Absolutely. Gosh, I love that. So I would love for you to share, because I think it's important. Like, I think that especially I've seen this a lot over the last few years, where like retailers that we can become like professional YouTube consumers, blog readers, all of the things. And I think that can be great. Like, it gets you to whatever level it might be able to get you to, depending on your skill set, your talent, and all of that. It can get you to another level. And I think that
when we look at moments of leveling up in business, a lot of times it's when we actually invested and got into something that really gave us the foundation of like, not just what can we get on YouTube, but what's really going to get me to the next level. I don't talk about a lot of products like outside of the stuff that we do, but I really do believe in what you and Ashley do in Retail Bootcamp. Like, what do you think when someone's looking at something like Retail Bootcamp, these courses? Because let's be honest, there's a lot of courses out there. Sure. What is who is Retail Bootcamp for, and like what is it designed to really get some? Like, what is it? Where is it designed to take a retailer?
Well, I love that you are such a big advocate for Retail Bootcamp, because I know that's coming from somebody who has seen it work. And so that makes me very, very thankful, right? And makes me feel like we're doing the right thing. When we designed Retail Bootcamp, we designed it to meet you where your business is currently and take you to where you want it to be, whatever success might be. And how I mean that is you invest in the course once, but you have lifetime access to the course. So we have students that enrolled in it in 2018 that show up semester after semester and take it. The reason why is because the pre-recorded modules, we change those up, every semester, right? But the real fruit, I think, is in that live coaching that Ashley and I do in the group every single week for an hour and a half, where we talk over whatever is in the industry happening related to the topic of the week and what we see working with stores. And we talk to those stores and we have them give examples and we share screen and we just kind of talk through the nitty gritty of things. All concepts, whether it's hiring or firing or sales channels or bulk discounts with Shopify or G4, all the things. If we're looking at creating a content plan, right now, when we start teaching again this winter and we start making a content plan for your spring, winter, or spring like wedding or Easter releases, right? Well, we're going to start talking about that back in January, because we understand how these things work on the daily basis in your store. So when we teach in a small group coaching session. And then the other really cool part about it is we bring in industry experts. Josh, you've done this for us, where you come in and you talk about what you're seeing with your clients and what you're seeing in your research and all that you have learned inside the community in the retail space. And you're bringing that real time education to the course right there. So that's why I think Retail Bootcamp works so well. And I give this like little explanation. Steel Magnolias movie, right? It's been around forever. Well, when I was a kid and watched Steel Magnolias in high school, I laughed. I thought it was funny. And I got something out of it, right? Well, now that I'm approaching 50 and I watch it again, there's a whole lot of parts of that movie that I had no idea. I didn't know what it meant. I thought, I just got enjoyment out of it, but I could not relate to it. I could not take action on it when I was 16. But now that I'm 50, right? Oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. So same as a business owner, when you come into Retail Bootcamp, just, wet behind the ears, brand new, right? There's a lot of value. But as your business grows and you become a more mature business owner, you start to see different things for different opportunities. You start to understand, how certain things can work in that more mature business as well. So that's why our store owners continue to come back semester after semester.
I love it. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. Like, I've seen it work because, when I think of our most successful clients, a lot of them were alumni of that program, which really gave them like the foundation of like not just this one aspect of retail, but like a broad understanding, whether it be finances or merchandising and buying and all of these pieces. It's literally like college for retail, but like actually useful.
Yeah. Well, what's so funny is this is the workbook. Wow. I don't know if you've ever seen this, and I'm redoing this right now. All of these tabs and my notes, this is all new things that we're adding in. This workbook itself is It's pretty awesome. And we go through insurance policies, buy sell agreements, things like that at the beginning foundation level of your business that a business owner a lot of times doesn't know about or didn't even think about, right? And so we start having these conversations about, you'll see a member that'll say, oh my gosh, I walked in and my entire store was flooded and I thought I had insurance. And we talk through those problems, those real life problems. We talk through, paying for insurance policies all year round as if you still had the same amount of inventory, January 15th as you did October 1st, and you do not. So let's look at your business through the lens of the money savvy business owner and some of those behind the scenes things that a normal person just wouldn't think of.
Gosh, that's so good. Well, if you are interested in that, we'll put a link in the show notes. So you can just click on the details of this episode and find a link to check that out. Check it out. I really can't recommend it enough. And really, there's not a lot of things that I'm willing to say, yes, this is absolutely worth it. And so I don't know. I don't even think I warned you that I really wanted to talk about Retail Bootcamp, but I believe in it. And yeah. I think it's something that's worth people really looking at seriously if they're wanting to level up. And, where I'll be a salesman for a second, if you are in that space, kind of like that we talked about earlier, of it seems like everybody is struggling and we're scared. We don't want, a lot of times the best time to invest in your business is typically when it's difficult. It's not like you all of a sudden, it would be like LeBron James waiting until he made it to the NBA to get his first coach. Mm-hmm. No, he did not wait till he was in the NBA. He was being coached from the time he was a kid. And his coaches leveled up over time. And at a certain point, when it's scary, we have to say, okay, I've gotten this thing by myself as far as I can. And you should be proud of where you've gotten it. But getting those outside resources and you pair that with your skill set and your talent, that's what enables you to really get to the next level. And I think investing in yourself via education is hands down the biggest needle mover in getting out of those difficult seasons. So check the show notes. It's great.
Yeah. We would love to have you. We would love to have you guys in the course. And I know that the coolest thing about it is the people that invest in RBC, they're all in. They are not just I'd kind of like to do this thing. They want to take their business to that next level. So those conversations happening inside that course, they're pretty fantastic. And, you are who you surround yourself with. So I think it's great. I appreciate your validation of the course. And Josh, I know you're going to be back in there coaching and teaching again in there because it's so awesome when we bring our experts in on their gifted field. Because I always say, do what you do best and hire the rest. And Ashley and I know a lot about a lot of things, but if I want insider intel on something, I'm going to go to the source that's what they do every single day. Yeah. Right. And so that's the kind of guest expert experience you have inside Retail Bootcamp. And I think that's very valuable.
I love it. Yeah. Well, Sara, it was so good to have you here. I love, any time that we get to connect, whether it be personally at markets or any of those pieces. So if people want to find you, if they want to follow you or check out what you have going on, where can they find you on Instagram or online?
Yeah, just go The Boutique Hub. You're going to find us there. And I am an open book, you guys, theboutiquehub.com. You can go to the website. You'll find more information. But I love working with small business owners. I love working with inspiring small business owners and, kind of helping bring your ideas of where you want to be as a retailer to life and then taking that to the next level as well. So I think my biggest joy is mitigating risk for store owners and saying, no, wait, don't do that. I have done that before. That's going to cost you lots and lots of money. And let me introduce you to a few other options that I think would be better suited for you. So when I can help store owners not make the same mistakes that I did dating way back to the 90s and early 2000s, that brings me a lot of joy. So if I can be of help any way I can, I will just also do a little shout out for those of you that don't know me. Busy mom of 2 sports enthusiasts, girls playing college sports, and a rodeo mom. I'm team rodeo. So Josh keeps trying to get me to get down to Houston to the rodeo, but someday. But if you have any questions about either one of those things, I'm an open book on that as well.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, Sara. And for those listening, thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Retail Initiative podcast. If you want more free resources, trainings, downloads, you can get those at madebycapital.com/podcast. Again, that's madebycapital.com/podcast. And for those of you that are serious and really want to take the success that you've built in your brick and mortar storefront and you want to create that same level of success online, I invite you to schedule a free call with me, at madebycapital.com/schedule, where we'll dig into your business, like where things are now, where you're wanting to go, getting really clear on your goals, and what are the 2 or 3 things that might be standing in the way of getting there. Now, look, if we're a good fit, I'd love to share what that looks like. And if not, my hope is that you leave with clarity on where to focus for you to reach your goals. So again, thanks for tuning in. And as always, leave a review, make sure you're subscribed, and I cannot wait to see you next time.